treasurer's report.
Balances. In our main account, we have $9,675.19. That's the account that all the dues goes into. And then the SOAN account, which stands for Save on Natural Environment, we have $23,089.11. And I know I explain this every month, but for anybody who's new, that account is a legal fund that we use to, you know, for certain things like back in the 90s when they wanted to put a water park over at Orchard Beach, and what was the other thing? The amphitheater. The SOAN account was started then to raise money. Right now, about half of that money came from the TV shows that film on the island. Barbara usually manages to ask them for a donation. It goes in that, and that's a fund that the Civic and the Chamber have agreed to use jointly for projects on beautifying the island. So that's $23,089.11, and thus ends the treasury report.
Okay, we were going to have a couple of guests. We're going to have the NCOs, but they had training. These are going to be the neighborhood officers. They're going to become a familiar face to City Island, and they had training, otherwise they'd be here, and we're going to look to get them here ASAP. We also were supposed to have Navarro Lopez, Bronx DOT Commissioner, but he canceled. So, who do we have next?
Are you going to do your chairman report?
Yes, I was going to do my chairman.
As did the Marie Street developer too.
As Cosmo?
Yeah, hopefully we'll get him sometime.
Okay, so I'm going to start with my report since we don't have any guests and it's really warm. So first, I want to welcome everyone for coming. It's nice to see old faces. It's nice to see old faces and new faces. We have a great packed house. I want to welcome you all. Brief word on someone we just lost, Eddie Esposito. For those that knew Eddie, he was a treasure to City Island. I know many of us here, he coached in football and other sports. He always had a smile on his face, and you know, he will be sorely missed. So it's in that spirit I welcome you all, and it was great to have known Eddie Esposito. Now, to address some of the things that was discussed last month, you know, folks wanted more parliamentary rules and sergeant-at-arms and stuff, and I've come to realize that I have it within my power to assign someone to be head of the parliamentary rules. And since Tom Smith has always been our de facto parliamentarian, it's within my power to make him the official parliamentarian. So I'm going to do that right now. So Tom, you are now anointed official parliamentarian. Okay, so now let me get into my crime, public safety report, update on the traffic issues. Now I know that's been a sore spot for many on City Island. Well, for those of us that have lived here 60 years and those of us that have lived here 6 months, guess what? We've always had traffic. Now, it's how do we mitigate that traffic? How do we get it done? You know, we've had a lot of, you know, trying to reinvent the wheel. Some things were good, some things were bad. You know, I want to point out that I have been working, you know, most of us here have been working with the 4-5 precinct and the head of traffic, the manager of traffic, and it took us some months, but you see that we have a presence now. You know, we come from the planet Earth, not the planet perfect. Some of these guys are on their phones, as we see. Some of them are sitting in their car. So what we do is we constantly improve to make it better. So sometimes it works with honey, sometimes it works with vinegar, but just know we're working hard. We are here for you. You are us, we are you. We are working at it. And sometimes a quick call would be, you know, trying to beat them up. So I'm just trying to say this so it works for us on City Island. I think people have noticed traffic is getting better. To the point, you know, where we saw a couple of what do you call it, petitions, but thank God they didn't have to go anywhere, things were addressed. And I want to thank Kathy Seebeck, by the way, because Kathy sent out a note for putting out a curb, and I believe, if I'm mistaken, Kathy, they took your note and they actually are going to install a curb. Let me see if I could find it. I just want to give...
It was the barriers by the circle.
The barrier?
Yeah, it was just
done already.
Yeah, no, it was done because...
And the curb, they were talking about a curb, but it's the barriers.
Right, well thank you for pitching...
Let me point out too,
Yeah.
that we wrote a letter in 2015 asking for barriers. This
Yes.
is not
Yeah.
a new thing, but Kathy managed to push it over the top.
Yeah, well,
which is
to
great.
all, as I said, it's
Yeah.
all hands on deck, and, you know, Barbara does thankless work, as many of us, so thank you to all. We appreciate it, and it's getting done. Okay, increase in speeding on the avenue. I've noticed it, I've been getting many emails on it. You know, as much as we like to blame people speeding onto the island from off City Island, you know, sometimes we need to intellectually look at the mirror at ourselves, and all I would ask is, you know, it's hard to go after other people when we're guilty ourselves. And, you know, no one's completely innocent. I'm sure I've done it myself. So what I would ask folks is to please, especially early in the morning, when there are people running and biking and exercising, you know, try and just leave your house a little bit earlier, you know, so you don't have to rush to get to work and possibly drive in a fire lane, you know, from your home all the way to the circle. You know, we have had fatalities, so we want to watch out for that. So please be aware. Next up, okay, we have had on Early Street. How many people know about the assaults that were taking place? There was a couple of assaults. You know, on the end of Early Street, there was allegedly a vicious beating, and people have reached out to me because sometimes people are afraid to necessarily come out and report things because they're afraid of reprisals. So I will tell you, and this goes to our drug issue on City Island, many people have come to me personally in confidence, and I'd like to believe I've kept that confidence. Some of these folks are in this room, others aren't, and I will take it to the police department, and I will do my best to effect arrests. I want to just, for those new to the island that may not realize it, we've had a lot of drug issues on City Island and other issues. So many years ago, we had a, believe it or not, a massage parlor, you know, as you came over the island to next to Dunkin' Donuts, and that was a tremendous issue. And for the longest time, we were just resigned to live with that. But you know what? We banded together, we fought it, and we closed it. Same thing, we had a drug, someone selling drugs out of a barber shop opposite the, and no one really knew about it, opposite the gas station. So I went in, I confirmed it, gave it to the police officer, the 4-5 precinct at that time, it was Captain Green, and within his power, he closed it lightning quick. We had drug sales out of Laurels. We had drug sales out of Pickwick. And folks banded together, they gave information, and we effected change because one good drug dealer could kill a lot of people, and it has on City Island. So we fight as a community, you know, opioid addiction, and we fight the horrible addiction, and we fight the people that sell drugs. We don't abide people that sell drugs to kids on City Island, and we as a civic representing you are committed to fighting drugs. So I appreciate your help in that. Okay, end of block issues. This is the beaches at the end of City Island. Now, traditionally, folks at the end of their block have block pride, where they rake the beach, you know, they all pitch in and help, they have block parties, etc., etc. And what's happened in recent years is sometimes it's gotten out of kilter. And what we as a civic have tried to intervene, many of us have spent a lot of our personal time sitting in on meetings and sitting with people one-on-one to try and hope common sense prevail. So for the most part, we've done that, where people respect each other as neighbors, and at the end it works out. Now it's, you know, it's come to my attention that someone has the idea, I think it's to print up, you know, maps and hand those out as they're open to anyone and everyone. Now, I'm not sure if that's rumor, if that's actually happening, but to that person or persons that are thinking about that, I would just tell them to take other things into account. You know, we have a public beach called Orchard Beach. At the end of the blocks, these aren't public beaches per se like Orchard Beach. So the first thing I'm going to naturally go to is safety and security. You know, we have children on these beaches, we have people leave their things because we know each other's neighbors. Printing out a map and handing them out to strangers, giving the belief that it's open to everyone, you know, now we have to talk about bathroom issues, because people that live on the block go home to go to the bathroom. We have to talk about safety issues, and we also have to talk about parking issues as well. So if that's a fact, if people are considering, you know, printing out these maps and handing them out as a gesture to New York City, I would ask them to direct them to Orchard Beach. So that's the end of block issue right there. We just got this hot off the thing. Now, Belgian Point, at the end of the island, we have some people that live there, and I don't know how they're living with this, but if they come to me afterwards, we did say I was going to address this when things got bad, and I guess since I got this note, things got bad. Was someone? I guess at this point, some things got bad. Do you want to get up and speak about it a little bit?
Yeah, well,
Sure.
I'm sure this is a problem for all the people who live on the water, but the boat traffic has become basically unlivable. You can't even live in your house anymore. What they do is they will come to the end of Johnny's Reef parking lot. They'll drop anchor offshore, sometimes 2, 3, 4 of them, and they have these basically rock concert loud sound systems.
I don't know where it was.
Yeah. It's Belgian Point, and it's about 20 feet outside my back door. I literally cannot listen to my TV. I can't sleep. There was one boat that was out there at 1 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock in the morning. And then on top of that, they will be accompanied by, usually at times, 10 to 20 jet skis. What they do is they come out there, and there's like a mothership boat that has the drugs and the liquor and the music and the girls, and they're just going up and down the.
Well, as you know, you and I previously spoke, and you asked me to wait until it got to that red line. I guess we've reached that point officially.
The Harbor Patrol was out there on Memorial Day. They ticketed some people, but I haven't really seen them since.
All right, so what I'll do is you and I will speak after the meeting today, and I will endeavor to personally go out and speak with the folks at Harbor or the 4-5 and put some pressure on it for that.
And just to
It's not just there either.
Yeah, no, on the island, but it's, yes.
and sometimes it goes to 3, 4 o'clock in the morning on the west side of the island,
Yes.
as I hear it.
Yes.
And it sounds like it's coming from, I'm on Carroll, and it sounds like it's coming blocks and blocks away from me, so it's clearly becoming a problem all around the island.
Yeah, and they'll wrap, they'll lash 4 of them together, and then they're.
All right, so we're on it. All right, so any questions about safety, security, as it relates to City Island? All right, moving forward. Barbara?
Okay. Then not too much to report, although I do want to say that I'm exploring with Community Board 10 the designation of certain certificates of occupancy. Most of you are aware of special district zoning for City Island, which has to do with the height of buildings and so forth, but it also puts limitations on the use of open lots, manufacturing zones and commercial lots and so forth. And there are certain restrictions, and there are a number of cases in the past and now of places that are abusing that by not following the certificates of occupancy, or that the Department of Buildings has issued certificates without checking City Island Special District zoning. So I've been working with the Community Board District Manager on this, and I just wanted you to be aware of this. If you know of any issues with this, please let me know so that we can follow through. There is going to be a hearing on August 17th about the black whale, about the 311 call and the violation. And an architect is working with Richie DePiro on this. The Civic is writing a letter. A lot of people have called. If you want to go to the hearing, this would be probably not a bad thing to do. It's something that I've been looking all through the old City Island current files and have found images of the same sign from the 1970s. So clearly it should have been grandfathered in, and why it was not is a question that we would have for the Department of Buildings. It's also true that when I talked to the Community Board District Manager about this, he said all the signs on City Island are illegal. So be careful, guys.
So the folks that know, someone specifically targeted the black whale sign And how many years has it been up there? 50?
Well, since probably the early 70s.
19, so the sign has been there since 1961, so someone decided to anonymously target the sign for reasons yet to be determined.
And let me interrupt.
So anyway, yes, Kathy.
I'm sorry, I heard you say something about the sign being grandfathered in, so that would make it okay.
Yes,
So that might, maybe you could help some of the other people on City Island
correct.
that's happening.
That's why I mentioned it, because I think that people ought to think about this. If
Yeah,
they've got,
I think the civic should also address anyone else that might have, any other business that might have affected on City Island, including the Black Whale and any others. I know Bob's office, there were awnings there before the 70s. I think you should write a letter for him.
but that's a past issue, right? That got dealt with? I mean, I know that
But there's a few issues
Marion
out there.
paid the
I think
fines.
we should support all our businesses that have had a problem with this. Not-
Well, I don't know that, I mean, unless you want to do a survey, which would be fabulous.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, good. Go to the businesses, get them to find out if there's signs, and then we would absolutely, yeah.
Definitely support it, so
Yep.
we can write a
Yep.
letter. Great,
Yep.
thank you so
Yep,
much.
that's good.
So, can I
The
interrupt
old,
just a minute?
yes,
Can I just say one thing?
Eleanor, yeah.
The cutoff date, 2003, that's when the law changed.
Okay, the law changed in 2003. That's when all of these old signs suddenly became illegal because they didn't get permits. Well, why should they? But that's the issue, right? Yeah.
So I
Okay.
only wanted to interject at this point because you mentioned Community Board 10, I almost forgot.
Oh,
It had been rumored for a few weeks that I would be appointed, and I finally got a couple weeks ago the official letter. So Councilman Joe and I requested my appointment, and I now represent City
Yes.
Island on Community Board.
one other announcement. Oh, yes, sorry, John.
Regarding the previous discussion on signs, there's a number of landmarks cases with signs that precede 2003, and the general consensus is if it's 15-plus years prior to the change in the signage law, it's it's considered a grandfather for lack of.
Well, would you
They
go
don't
tell
say
the
that
buildings
in law.
department that?
Yeah, no, landmarks commission rulings, but.
Yes, but the
like, they're-
landmarks
they're
commission
still
does
active.
not run the buildings department, and
No,
they are
but, with
sometimes
the buildings
unaware.
department is adhered to it in a number of cases.
Yeah, on the landmark building, by all means.
Generally speaking, it's 15 years, it's considered to be grandfathered.
But it doesn't appear that way. If you look at all of the places with signs, and it will say whether stuff is grandfathered in or not, and none of them say it was
The
grandfathered.
petition has to be made in some case.
Okay, well, maybe we should do that, yeah.
Right, but, along that line,
Yeah.
I wouldn't do a general petition for everybody,
No, well, let's see what Kathy comes up with, yeah.
No,
Ellen?
wait. I didn't hear what he said. I'm sorry, I didn't hear what that gentleman said.
He was just saying that it should be 15 years, it should be
prior
grandfathered
to
in.
2003.
But as of 2003, it should be grandfathered in, but this has clearly not been the case because this was, the Black Whale was given a violation. So,
Right, well,
excuse me?
Is the height restriction measured from the ground or from the requirement?
Well, it's changed, and this is all under discussion at the Department of City Planning. But now that people are having to build higher up, say 11, 12 feet, is that what it is, Teddy?
Yes, it's 12 feet.
And then to do the building from then up. This obviously does not adhere to City Island Special District zoning. I've been talking to them about ways in which we can adjust the rules in a sense so that these buildings don't become oversized for in the areas in which they are located. Luckily, there's not a lot of new construction going on, and what seems to be going on at the moment, like down at the end of this street, seems to be okay. And I know that the Marine Street project is not going to be higher than 35 feet, so.
If I could just put a
Bound Street?
If I could just put a pause, because there are people that want to hear, and they're standing outside. So, folks, if we have room over here for about,
They can come
8 or 9
stand in
people,
here.
they can come down here. We have an open window. John, if you could ask them to come in, because I know people want to hear. We have people around the block. So I'm sorry, I'm just going to put a pause on everything.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go
Ellen,
ahead.
did that answer your question?
No, we can comment specifically on Bound Street.
What?
On on westbound street?
Westbound Street. Well, that again is built up, that, you mean the Seafood City building? Yeah. Again, I've asked them about that. I took them pictures of it to show to city planning. And it is, according to Hoyle, because it had to have the certain amount of space above the high water mark. And on top, I said, yeah, but there's all the structures on top. And they said, well, that's all allowed because it's like elevators and all kinds of stuff like that. So they know about it, city planning does, but they don't seem to be planning to do much about it. Okay, one other thing is just an announcement, which is this room is going to be used for a public information session by the Department of Environmental Conservation to discuss the commercial fishing license system. Now, this is not something that affects most of us in our daily lives. However, this would give us an opportunity to talk to DEC and ask them a whole bunch of questions about fishing in this area. And somebody had suggested to me that the Marine Street development is actually going to be interfering with a breeding ground for striped bass. Is this true? Is this not true? Is this something that DEC knows about or doesn't know about? So if these experts are going to be on site, please let me know, and I'll give you information about when the meeting is going to be. Yes?
Can you tell us when the meeting is going to be now?
Yes, it is going to be on Wednesday, August 22nd at, I believe it's at 6:30. I don't have the exact time here, but I can let you know, Kathy, or anybody else that wants to know about it. But I think it's something that's worthwhile going to. Obviously, I'm sure that the fishing boats and stuff on the island know about this, but I'm going to be sending emails around just in case they don't, because it's someplace, it's something that everybody should be aware is going on. Okay, any questions?
I'm sorry, I just wanted to
Yeah.
ask, maybe what you had stated about the signs and everything, if you could possibly send that in an email to the membership regarding that, and maybe post it on our civic page.
Sure,
And
yeah.
it will help inform, the general population that's a member of the page or the membership.
Well, I think we have to do a little research anyway on what constitutes an illegal sign anyway.
No, but I mean, what you're doing for the Black Whale, stating about the grandfather in part, maybe you
Right.
can just put that out on our civic page, so.
Well, that I will do on the black whale thing alone, but that's a separate issue. But if we're going to do general research, I think we have to find out what makes a sign illegal. I mean, little signs are probably not. Now, they're neon signs that shouldn't be up
Right,
at
but
all.
what you just said here tonight, we could put it in the email to the
Yeah.
membership and on our.
Yeah, I agree with spread the word. Let's talk after. That's a good suggestion, yeah.
Yeah, you indicated there's going to be a hearing regarding the black whale. Is there a date set yet?
Yes, it's August 17th.
Oh, I missed that. Okay, thanks.
It's online too, you can see it.
Okay,
on
take
the
one more
DOB
question,
website.
Margaret.
Yeah, yeah, one more, yeah.
Does the Civic Association own a copy of the New York City Building Code?
I don't know, it's not in my house.
It's online.
No, I don't.
Unfortunately, I used to have one, but I gave it to an architect.
online.
to do here.
Well, we have architects that we can call on for this sort of thing, and I know
It may be
that
nice to
Robert
have
is
one,
very
just so you
in
can
tune
do
with
it.
what's
Yeah, well,
in the building.
It's only $300.
Yeah, yeah,
If you need it, I'll buy it.
okay, good, okay, thanks.
All righty, moving on. John Doyle.
Thank you. So we have a couple things, and it's good because some of the officers actually touched on some of the things I want to bring up. The letters that I'm going to speak about are relatively considered non-controversial, so I'm just going to lay out there were 3 of them. If someone objects, raise your hand and we'll have a discussion on it, but I don't think anyone's going to actually object to any of these. A letter in support of the DOB, which will actually be sent to through Robert King, who's the architect, in support of the black whale. We've already drafted one. Barbara's looked it over. It touches on many of the things that's been spoken about here, from being grandfathered in to it being an icon of the City Island community. A lot of the reason they changed the law in 2003 was in other neighborhoods, not this neighborhood, to comply with zoning statutes and zoning regularities of sorts, that these signs were not within the zoning. And the case we make in our letter is that it's actually very much within the character of City Island for this sign. So it's a support letter. Again, I don't think anyone's going to be opposed to that. The second letter is to DOT Commissioner Navarro Lopez. This comes from Bob Adams. I don't know if he's here tonight. I know he's trying to make it. He has brought up a really good point, and we have been pushing this for several years, that on the on and off ramps of the Hutch, there is a lot of ambiguity. There is a lot of, if you make a sharp left turn, you could go the wrong way onto an off-ramp from the hutch. And it is all too common if you drive late at night within the hutch, which I'm a night owl, I do, to see a car going opposite in the wrong direction. And we are just waiting for an accident. It doesn't have to be this way. Organizations like this exist to be proactive and address your concerns. We're all here to serve the membership and the needs of the membership and the needs of City Island. So again, I'm not anticipating that someone likes seeing the car go the wrong way onto an off-ramp of the Hutchinson River Parkway. The third letter is a follow-up to something else we had said earlier, which is with respect to everyone seeing the abandoned boats along the shoreline, not only in Pelham Bay Park, but along our own shoreline. We have had meetings in the past. The Parks Department irregularly cleans up the boats. They do it when they get grant money from FEMA. I had a conversation with the person who regularly deals with all that. He said that money is not likely to reoccur. So it's a general letter to all 4 of our elected officials, probably 5, because I'll probably throw in the borough president, our congressman, our state senator, our state assemblyman, our city councilman, asking that they consider funding the New York City Parks Department to collect and recover the abandoned boats on City Island and Pelham Bay and the shoreline. And this is, again, what the Parks Department believes would be the best way to address the problem. So it's not just sending out a letter and set it and forget it. It's about trying to get a response, pinging those agencies, being persistent. Some people in the room can tell you we are on top of some of these agencies to deliver for City Island when that needs to
It's
occur.
only off public property, though. Not, they don't remove boats from private property, only public.
Barbara brought up a very good point. This would only apply to boats on public property, not private property. So you think along the shorelines and things along that nature. As already has been addressed, the quick curb at the circle has been installed. This originated back in 2015. Does everyone here know Lauren Camerico? She lives on Schofield Street. This had been a concern of hers. We wrote a letter in 2015. We actually had a site visit with Commissioner Lopez. We've sent dozens of emails on this, pinging him. He was supposed to come today. He had a personal conflict. He is willing to come back, which I'm going to get to, in either August, which I don't think we're going to meet. We'll have a discussion on that. Or in September, he's willing to come. And when he said what was the one thing City Island wanted, when I had a conversation with him to invite him to this meeting, I said some sort of division at the circle, because that's what you've all pinged and commented on to that respect. And he pushed, he was one of the people who really pushed that through. Sometimes we jump on people in government when they don't do the right thing. So I just want to take a moment to thank somebody who actually did the right thing. And also, former Commanding Officer Inspector Rhea. For years, the DOT ignored this request because they said it would interfere with emergency services. Inspector Rhea, who was the former Commanding Officer of the 45th Precinct, actually reached out on our behalf and went beyond protocol to say, no, this would be helpful, and I want this because I can't always have officers at that location. Yes, so thank you. Yeah. The other thing is, as I said, Commissioner Lopez had to cancel due to a conflict, but he is prepared to come as our August or September speaker. Secondly, and I've done a little outreach on this for certain people, the Save the Sound, which is a non-profit organization, is doing tests of the Eastchester Bay water supply. That's what they're doing. And they're testing it to see if there's oxygenation, which I'm probably slimming on the word. But the thing is, what they are doing is they're trying to make it more hospitable. Basically, there is a movement afloat to turn Eastchester Bay and the Hutchinson River into the next big project like the Bronx River was. You remember back in the day, the Bronx River was absolutely horrible. It's not perfect, but it is better. And I guess just a show of hands, would anyone be interested, because we're here to serve you. Is there anyone here who would be interested in having someone like that speak at a future meeting? Show of hands if you would be. Okay, I think it's pretty clear the ayes have it. If it's not hot. If it's not hot, okay. No, that is fair. That is fair. Okay, does anyone have anything related to municipal relations or anything else along those lines that I can answer now? All right, so concludes my report.
Okay.
always give me credit for the
Yeah,
membership
Jamie,
committee, that's
no,
actually
that-
Tom.
That's me, but we have not decided, we decided not to do anything this year. But I can say that dues are coming in pretty good this year, so we're doing pretty good in the Treasury Department, but we put off having, 2 years ago, we had a fundraiser in Barbara's backyard on the waterfront, was great. We'd like to do that again, but we don't have the time to do it this year, so probably next year.
Okay, before we get to the,
How many members do we have right now?
Around 220, maybe a little bit more than that now.
before we get to the old business and the upcoming vote of the bylaws, we're going to have a quick word by our elected officials or their representatives. Teddy, you're right here. You want to get up and announce who you are and who you represent, please?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ted Fryer, I live on City Island, and I'm part-time counsel to Council Member Mark Jonai. There are no announcements except that he wanted to congratulate Tom on Community Board 10. So that's it.
Thank you, sir. Jose, please announce who you are and who you represent, my friend. I've got a couple of texts from folks in the back. Obviously, they don't have a problem hearing me, so let's see if you can do equally as well and speak up.
So my name is Jose Rodriguez. I work for State Senator Jeff Klein. No announcements with the exception of I'd like to hand out our Summer Symphony concert calendar. And as you all know, on August 21st, we will be at Virginia Field, and we'll have a live activity. And if it rains, the rain date is August 22nd.
Yes, sir. Please announce yourself, who you represent.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Joe Garvey. I'm here representing Alessandro Biaggi tonight.
Wait. My friend, I'm sorry. You're not an elected official. I'm sorry.
Point of order?
Yes, sir. What's your point of order?
This is a public forum, he has a right to announce himself and
It's not a public forum. It is for elected officials, my friend. That's new business.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
I'll concede that it comes under new business.
Thank you. That will be under new business. Thank you, my friend. New business. All right. Going so well. Let's hope we can keep the momentum. All right. Any other elected officials that need to be represented? No. Okay. So on to old business and what everybody, I guess, is here for. So we have...
Let me point out as a parliamentarian, the rules require that the chair read the motions. So we're going to stick to the rules, and it's a long one, but Bill is going to have to read it out again, so bear with me.
All right, I'll try and make it quick like those commercials where the guy talks quick on the drug commercials. All right, does anybody have a set of reading glasses? I apologize. I asked, can I have them, please? Readers? I'm acquiescing my age. I can give it a shot. All right, no one laugh. I got it. Don't break? No, all right. All right. There we go for the camera. 6 amendments to be made to the Civic Association bylaws. Number 1, adds Article 2, Section 7 to bylaws. Sergeant at Arms. A sergeant at arms shall maintain order at all meetings, maintain a copy of Robert's Rules of Order, act as a parliamentarian in resolving any dispute concerning meetings, operations in accordance with the City Island Civic Association's Constitution and bylaws, as well as Robert's Rules, act as a member of the Executive Committee. All right. Number 2, adds Article 6, Section 8 of the bylaws. No member of the association will be allowed to hold any office for a period of 10 years or more. Number 3, amends Article 5, Section 5 of the bylaws to remove the president may appoint any member to act as his or her parliamentarian. I think I did that. Number 4, adds Article 5, or V, I think it's 5, Section 10 by the bylaws. Should any matter be discussed at a meeting, and should the chair wish to give their opinion on the topic at hand, they are required to cede the chair to another member immediately in order to facilitate fairness to any deliberations and discussions. This is applicable even if a vote is not taken on the matter at hand. They may not resume chairing the meeting until the matter at hand has been concluded. Number 5, amends Article 6, Section 8 of the bylaws. The term of the office for all officers shall be for 2 years, commencing January 1, with the following officers running in alternate years: President, Second Vice President, recording secretary together, and first vice president, treasurer, corresponding secretary, and sergeant at arms together. We're almost there, folks. Number 6, amends Article 6, Section 9 of the bylaws. An officer of this association or member of the executive committee may be impeached for cause including breach of their duties, malfeasance, incompetence, and/or infraction against the association or community at large by petition of 50 members in good standing and removed from office by a vote of 2/3 of the membership of the association present at a meeting called for that purpose.
Okay, now I call a point of order. Sorry, you just have to do this formally by the book.
All right, I recognize that point of order.
Okay. Just as a preference, I've been writing bylaws for about 25 years for a number of organizations, approved by attorneys and so forth. The thing is, you cannot change the body of the bylaws. You either rewrite the entire bylaws or you write an amendment that goes at the end of it. So the first couple of parts adds articles, and that's not a proper motion. The other thing is, it adds sergeant at arms to the executive board or executive committee. It's our constitution, not our bylaws, that creates the executive committee and specifies how they're appointed and who's appointed. But also down further, it refers to well, it doesn't specifically say they're an officer, it refers to them being elected within the terms of the officers. The same thing, it's our constitution that enumerates and specifies who's the officer. So you can't do that without amending the Constitution rather than the bylaws. There are other small minor things, but those are the main things. This was all introduced as one motion, so it can only be considered as one motion, and the motion is improper. And that's my point of order, and what happens with the point of order, the chair either says well taken, meaning he agrees with the point of order, or not well taken, which means he disagrees with my point. So what rules the chair?
Well taken.
Okay, so the next thing is, it's not debatable. The next thing is, what I do is I make a motion to commit. A motion to commit means to send it to committee. So, per our bylaws, it is our executive committee or executive board that creates a committee. And it's going to be an ad hoc committee. We did this like 3.5 years ago. So I make a motion to commit that we send it to committee to discuss, because there are a lot of things, when you get to this much stuff in a bylaws, unless you're doing like 1 or 2 amendments, usually then you just go revisit the whole thing. So my motion to commit is doing that, but just so you know, if the motion to commit passes, the executive board must appoint a bylaws committee. If it doesn't pass, they still have the option to oppose a bylaws committee. So that's my motion, and somebody can second it.
Second.
Mark seconds it. So, and again, there's no debate on the motion to commit other than whether you think it's a proper format. It's properly done at the end of a main motion. So, anybody have any specific debate on that? Whether it's proper format or not?
I would like to speak.
Yes, Joe.
No. You don't debate the motion. You can only speak to whether it's...
Point of order. An officer can introduce a secondary motion.
No, there's no secondary motion. The motion's been ruled out of order. What we do is we have a motion to commit. I'm the parliamentarian now, so the motion to commit is not debatable. What it is you can argue whether it can be introduced at this time. And it can be introduced at this time because there was a pending motion. But if it doesn't pass, that's fine. If the executive board wants to form a committee, they can form a committee at that time.
The vice president had a question regarding the succeeding motion.
Who's the vice president?
I'm not the vice president.
I'm not the vice president.
Mr. Doyle.
So do you know his position? Oh, I'm sorry, you said vice
I was
president.
wrong. I don't.
Oh, no, I'm just curious. All right.
But he
Thank
is a member of the
Yes.
executive board, so
Yes, absolutely.
he has as a point of order, he can introduce the secondary motion if he has a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Regarding
Yes.
the motion.
Yes.
No, the motion has been ruled out of order. So there is no motion.
The motion to recommit.
Oh, the motion to commit.
That's what I want to speak about.
Okay.
On the motion to recommit. Again, this was introduced at the last meeting.
No, I'm sorry, you cannot debate the motion.
I'm not debating the motion.
You cannot debate it.
Let him speak.
To take a vote or not.
Please speak.
Okay.
I'm not debating the motion. I'm not going to sit here and give my pros or cons to the motion. That's not what I'm here to do. We're here talking about recommitting. I would just point out that, again, this was introduced at the last meeting. I was told that a template would be coming. I reached out twice. A template was not forthcoming. And we had an executive committee meeting where this matter was not discussed, and we talked about bringing it to a rule of the voters. I would just, or the membership rather, I would just point out this is an outstanding turnout of the membership. People came out to vote on these things, and I think the recommitting, I think it's really a problem.
Okay, so now, we're not supposed to debate, but I'm going to answer. First of all, there's process, there's procedure. As I explained at the last meeting, you debate, you introduce a motion when it's a motion to amend the bylaws. There's no debate at that meeting. There's no debate until the second meeting under old.
So there's no vote tonight then?
Under the old, there's going to be a vote on the motion to commit. Under the old under the bylaws, we can have a committee to do it, but the rules are you at the second meeting, which is this meeting, that's when you debate it. It would not have been proper for me at the time to say it's right or wrong, although I did at the end of the meeting tell John that it wasn't done correctly that way. And I didn't say there was a template. What I was talking about, since we're going into this, on my creation of term limits, which is a fine motion, but because all right, so we're going to, when I've been on the Community Advisory Board of Montefiore Medical Center for more than 20 years. In 1992, I created the bylaws for them. Their corporate attorneys vetted them. This is exactly how we set up the staggered terms and the term limits. And those bylaws are now used by all of their medical centers, community advisory boards. We recently created bylaws months ago at Pilot Cove with an attorney, Catherine Campbell. I didn't even bring up staggered terms. She did. And that's the way you do it in 3 segments. I never said there was a template. I don't have a template. Anybody can go online and look up how to create bylaws. What I said was when I did the staggered terms, I modeled it after the corporate attorneys approved for Montefiore.
All right, so this is what I'll.
We can discuss later, but there's a motion on the floor to commit. We take a vote. It's either yes or no.
For the point of order on the motion, Section 6. Chapter 6, paragraph 2, line 30, if a motion might be more suitable accepted in an alternate form, a proposal to change its wording, to clarify, or within limits to modify the meaning before the main motion can be introduced by moving to amend. Do we have a movement to amend?
Amend what? The motion?
In the motion to commit.
Second.
No, it's not an amendable motion. It's not.
All right, wait, then tell me where it says it's not an amendable motion.
Remember, first of all, I'm the parliamentarian, and I did do
Subsidiary.
All right, please, you'll have your chance. So this is what I'll say.
You can do what you want.
Since folks want to do this by the book and by the rule, the parliamentarian has brought a point of order, and if after this, I totally encourage a vote when the time is proper. Unfortunately, the people that wrote this wrote it invalidly, to say in short speed.
That's fine.
Wait. He's got a motion on the floor that needs to be addressed.
A motion to commit.
No, I'm addressing his
I
motion.
believe what you said.
I'm addressing his motion. He's not been recognized by the chair.
Let's calm down.
Okay? The motion to commit cannot be applied to any subsidiary motion, nor can be laid on the table or postponed.
Okay, so now I need everybody to stay calm and civil. You need to be recognized, please. Please, unless you're recognized, this won't get done. So, what I want to talk about is that is done. The folks that wrote this need to write it properly, reintroduce it, and we will happily vote on it. So if it's outside, so that is now done. If someone wants to talk about something else or something related, I'm happy to entertain.
No, we still have the motion.
Oh, we still have, I'm sorry, the parliamentarian. So Tom, everybody just take a breath.
Chair, take a vote and then she can speak after the vote.
Okay, so we are going to
Point of order. Point of order stops business.
Not
recognized.
Point of order stops business.
Let her speak. Go ahead. Let her speak.
Thank you. Let her speak.
I'm not recognizing you.
What did I say?
No provision in either the Constitution or the bylaws to amend either.
I did not say, no, I absolutely did not say that. There are very
And what it
specific.
says is that you bring the motion, it's read in at one meeting and it's voted upon on the next.
That's in our bylaws.
So,
It's
could
in
you
our
just
bylaws.
clarify exactly what is wrong procedurally?
This is why we sent out copies of the bylaws. It's in the bylaws. There are two procedures. There's a procedure for amending the Constitution, which means you have to bring printed versions of your proposed amendment to a meeting. It's then voted on the next meeting. To amend the bylaws, you raise it, you don't have to distribute printed motions, you make the motion, and then it's voted on, it has to be announced to the membership, and it's voted on at the next meeting. It's in the bylaws. I wrote the bylaws, I
So
know.
what specifically was not done correctly?
The main thing that was not done correctly is it changes the text in the body of the bylaws. You don't do that. You have to amend
Okay,
it.
I have been a,
And the other thing
I have been on
is,
executive boards, I have been writing bylaws for the last 5 years.
well, I've been writing for 25 years, and they've been vetted by...
Yes, the lady in the back. Yes, ma'am. Can you please speak up, please?
Yeah, hi. Can I just say, there's a motion on the floor, can we just vote on it already?
Right, exactly.
Yes.
Vote, yes or no. It doesn't matter whether it passes or not.
Okay, so let's make a motion. For those to vote yes on the motion, raise your hand, please.
What is the motion?
The motion to commit. Raise your hand, please. We have people outside the law.
This is to send that to committee.
Take your seat. You're in the middle of a vote. We're in the middle of a vote. We're in the middle of a vote.
You have to reread the motion.
Motion to commit.
There is no written motion. The motion to commit, the definition of a motion to commit is to take the prior motion and send it to a committee. Yeah, that's the motion to commit.
All right, Fred, as the first vice president, can you count, please, the votes? Motion to commit.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Keep your hands up. Keep your
hands up.
15, 16, 27.
I know what I wouldn't vote on it if I didn't know what I would explain it.
34, 35, 36.
No, it's average.
43.
Yeah, I'm going to say.
47, 48, 51, 54, 55, 56, 60. Is there anybody else outside?
Did everybody put their hands down? Inside?
No, I didn't.
Right. That's the biggest problem. They're railroading. They're completely sidestepping the democratic process. I don't know.
Got it? You want to write it down?
I was able to count, hands go up and down, and I go row by row. I was able to count, including outside, 74.
Fred, how many? Fred,
Motion not to
how
commit.
many of them are point
Voting
order?
no on the motion. All right, Fred, you put down.
Point of order?
You're voting no. Keep your hands up so
We're in the
we
middle of a vote.
can count.
Point of order.
No, we're in the middle of a vote.
Point of order. It
You cannot.
stops business.
We're in the
Yes,
middle
you
of a vote.
can.
We're in the middle of a vote.
Point of
We're
order.
in the middle of a vote. Please sit down, sir. Please sit down.
How many of the people
Please sit
voting
down,
are members?
sir. Please sit
I'm
down,
not sitting down.
sir.
How many of?
Please be quiet.
Point
Please
of
be
order.
quiet. No, we're in the middle of a vote. Thank you. Thank you.
It doesn't matter. None of this matters. None of this matters. It's a bonus vote. Correct. That's what I'm asking.
Excuse me, nobody could hear at the back what we were raising our hand for. We couldn't hear at the back.
They're not. They don't want to. They don't want to allow.
I could hear what I was raising.
All I want to know is if the people who are voting are members. They're not even verifying if they're members.
Yeah.
This is a kangaroo court.
Why are they not making it?
push it away. That's why. So basically, there's a vote on whether they're going to be Doyle and they're saying no, if they're not properly, they weren't allowed. We can't even allow a vote on it, and that's what they're now. Whether to.
I will explain. Just so you know. Just so you know, the vote really didn't mean too much, because what it does is it forces the executive board to create a bylaws committee, but it can choose to if it wants. So if this vote didn't go through, I was just following normal parliamentary procedure to do this. Because once you take a motion and you rule it as improper, the next step is to send it to a committee so the committee can review it. And if we voted no on that, the executive board could still meet and appoint a committee. So nothing catastrophic happened. It just says the board has to appoint the committee rather than it may if it wants to appoint the committee. That's it.
And just so you know, the vote was 74 to 27 that it goes to committee.
And I have a question in reference to that. How many members are here tonight? Paid members. And how many people have signed in? Do you have a record of that?
No. I didn't sign in.
Where is the sign in?
I didn't sign in. I didn't choose to. I didn't see
Now, you
it.
see, if it was a really important vote, yeah, okay, we would take a roll call. But do you guys really want to spend another hour here taking a roll call?
It'll take about 2 hours.
It's not, like I said, it's not an important motion. I'm going to tell you, it's going to go to a committee one way or the other. The executive board has already discussed having a committee. So whether it passes or not, all I was trying to do was follow proper parliamentary procedure. I didn't care whether it passed or not.
So I'll let you folks in on a little secret. It's going to committee regardless.
And because it's going to committee, I have to make one more parliamentary point. Is until a motion is read into the membership, the person who made the motion owns it. The motion for the term limits, I'd rather incorporate into the whole committee, so I'm withdrawing that motion for now, so we don't have to vote on that now.
I recognize it. All right.
So when does all of
excuse me, I'm sorry, you have to be recognized. Calling out isn't really acceptable, especially in a crowd this size. We want to be respectable to everyone. So I will get to you in a moment. There was hands up before that. Yes, ma'am, in the back.
Could you explain what the committee is going to do with those bylaws so that I can understand it? I'm not a lawyer.
Okay, so let me explain. We did this about 3.5 years ago, and we had a committee. And the committee will sit down. We met over, every couple of weeks over several months, take section by section. Decided this section good, does it need to be removed, does it need to be added to, does it need to be changed? Do we need new sections and we know all sections? And you haggle that out, and then it goes before the executive board goes through it. We don't like this, we like that, let's add that, let's take that out, let's reword it this way. And then when the executive board decides they like it too, then it goes to the full membership for a vote, and it takes 2/3 of the full membership, or the membership in attendance, 2/3 of the membership in attendance to pass it. And that's basically what the procedure is.
Yes, sir.
I was curious how the committee would be selected, especially in this instance in which there potentially would be a conflict, based on the fact that the term limits might be something in the interest of the executive committee or not.
Thank you.
Let me just say that I'm pretty confident I will be on the committee because I have so much experience, and I favor term limits, as you see what I drafted. I do favor term limits, and in fact, because the way you have to stagger them, and like I said, I've dealt with attorneys on this, and that's where it's tradition. The reason it's done in 3 groups, like right now, our offices are in 2 groups. And the reason 2 groups is okay every other year, because you're not going to have one entire group not come back in. One person might step down, one person might not.
I'm really sorry to interrupt. I completely appreciate that explanation, but I'd like an answer to my question.
Which is what?
About the committee and how
That'll be up to the executive board. The executive board is not meeting right now. I can't answer for the full. There are 16 members of the executive board, and that's up to them.
Yes, ma'am.
How do you become part of the bylaws committee?
That'll be up to the executive board.
Because I would like to be part of that committee.
I will take into advisement. Thank you. Yes, Kathy.
Just want to thank Tom for withdrawing his, because he could have brought his amendment to vote, and it probably would have passed. So I thought that was great that he withdrew it. This way we can have a committee, and we had said that last month, since the majority seems to be one way. somebody jumped to 25. So I think it was a good idea to commit, have bylaws, and you come together as one, and we can vote on them, instead of people trying to get each other and remove each other. If anyone really wants to remove anyone, they can do impeach. I mean, you know, that's in the bylaws now, but and I do agree regarding the Constitution. If you're putting in an amendment to change the Constitution or add an officer to it, you change the Constitution, and you can't vote on that as an amendment. And that's pretty clear. And that's the point why people aren't voting on that, if anyone missed that. So thank you, and I would be on the bylaws committee, or I'd like to recommend my
It'll be all be taken into advisement. Okay, moving on.
Someone in the back of the room.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name's Louisa. I just have a suggestion for next time. I feel like this could have been brought up at our last meeting.
No, it
Instead of why not?
It can't. The procedures are, and the bylaws are very specific. There is no debate, because there are people who are not at the last meeting who are not aware the bylaws are going to be amended. So what's required in the bylaws is you make the motion at one meeting, announce what the motion is, make the motion, you have it seconded. There is no debate, there is no discussion, and then the proposal goes out to the members, and then they come back to the next meeting to debate, to discuss the vote
So just so
on it.
I understand, even if it's done incorrectly, first time, you can't know it's done incorrectly?
It was not appropriate to have that discussion. That's the point. That has to happen at this meeting.
Shouldn't that have happened at the executive board meeting?
No,
and all the executive
I'm sorry, Dan, please wait until you're recognized. Thank you.
I don't care, Bill.
Yeah, I know you don't care. That's why I'm making Yes, sir.
Am I alone in not understanding what appears to be a crazy power play is all
Thank
about?
you.
Did you read the proposed bylaws?
Yes, I did.
Did you? And I'm surprised that nobody looked at him and said, "This is crazy. How can you change the?" That's why we sent out the Constitution and the bylaws. How can you create an officer
John,
position?
that's not my question. I'm not a parliamentarian. I have to yield to you on that issue.
And that was the
But
issue.
there's so much ugliness and divisiveness apparent here, and I don't understand what it's all about.
Not here tonight.
Not here tonight, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the people that objected to me calling out the illegality of the motion, they objected to that. It's just very logical. When you get home, read through it again and understand. If you understand bylaws, it works the same as like the United States Constitution. You know, they never go into the body of our U.S. Constitution and add stuff. They added at the end, they go Amendment 1, 2, 12, 27, and if it changes what's in the bylaws, it says this amendment removes or supersedes Section X, Part Y of the Constitution. That's the only way you can do it, and this was clearly illegal. It just cannot be done.
All right, it's very warm in here, and we want to keep moving, so we're happy to answer questions after the meeting if you want, because it is very hot and there are a lot of people, and we're just going to keep moving forward and stay positive on this. So if you have questions for afterwards, approach us, and we'll be happy to answer them. Okay, moving on to new business. Any new business? Yes, sir.
Timing is everything.
Yes, I'm sorry for being a bit ambitious earlier. Hi, everyone. Thank you for welcoming me here, as well as Karen, our policy director. My name's Joe Garvey. I'm representing Alessandra Biaggi. As many. Yes, this is. Yeah, I just want to give you a few updates. I want to thank you all for taking the time listening to me. I'll be very quick. Alessandra Biaggi is running against, as you know, Jeff Klein in the upcoming election, September 13th. It's a Thursday. This August 21st, City Island Indivisible will be hosting a debate between Alessandra.
No, it's not Indivisible. It's City Island.
I'm sorry, City Island folks. We'll be hosting a debate between Alessandra and Jeff Klein. I hope you all can make it. Karen will be handing out flyers in the back when you guys exit. Please take one. There's a lot of important information on here. And please, again, feel free anytime to contact the campaign. We want to hear about the issues that you're most passionate about. And we've been going around knocking doors for the past 2 months. And something that's been coming up a lot is traffic and the environment. And we want to hear more about that and what we can do to solve that and the best solutions. So please feel free to contact us at any time. Stop by headquarters. You're more than welcome.
Where's the debate?
The debate, I'm not too sure if there's location for it.
It's at Grace Church at 8 o'clock on the 21st.
Thank you.
8 o'clock on what day?
Thank you, sir.
The 21st.
Thank you. Thank you. Terry?
Thank you, everyone.
Terry?
They scheduled the debate the same day as Jeff Klein's concert.
Oh. All right. All right, so we're going to take a quick vote. Traditionally, we don't have meetings in August, so it's so hot. I'm sorry, yes, yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm new to Sean.
Yes, ma'am.
I run the early youth art and then shop on the weekends here. I'm starting a new blog, or I'm not starting a blog, no one ever keeps me. So I'm starting a new blog, and I want to actually have it printed also, something to give tourists when they come. Focus completely on arts.
Not a map to the beaches on City Island, I hope. Okay.
No, so if anybody has ideas, they want to write more in-depth things about anything art-related, antiques, crafts, music, art, architecture, things like that. Someplace that's an all-in-one, that's not just for the locals, but will help where you can point people to who want to come to do business now that we have some lovely new shops and galleries that have opened, and want to try to attract more tourists to come, and so they know all the things they can do with art and anything art related. Come by the shop on the weekend if you want to write about something, if you're an artist or a photographer or anything, and just let me know. And I don't have a name for it yet. I'm thinking of a few things. When you have ideas, let me know.